You remembered the conversation perfectly. Every word, the way they laughed, what they were wearing, how the light looked in that room. But the date? Gone. And now someone's looking at you like you committed a crime. How could you forget our anniversary? You didn't even remember my birthday. It's been a year since we met, and you have no idea, do you? And you're standing there, chest tight, genuinely confused, because you remember everything that mattered. You just don't remember when. And here's what nobody says out loud. That's not carelessness. That's not selfishness. That's not you failing the people you love. That's just how some brains are wired. And the science behind it is more fascinating than the shame you've been carrying. Most people assume that forgetting dates means you don't care enough, that if they really mattered to you, the number would stick. But that's not actually how memory works. That's not even close to how memory works, because the brain doesn't store everything the same way. Some things get filed by feeling, some by image, some by sound, or smell, or the specific weight of a moment. And then there are dates, numbers, arbitrary markers on a calendar that mean everything socially and almost nothing emotionally. And for some people, the brain simply doesn't treat them the same. But here's the part most people miss. In 1981, psychologists John Anderson and Gordon Bower developed what they called the associative network theory of memory, which simply means this. Your brain doesn't store memories like a filing cabinet. It stores them like a web. Every memory is connected to other memories through emotion, context, sensation, meaning. When you remember something, you don't retrieve a file, you follow a thread. And dates. Dates are almost always isolated nodes. No texture, no feeling, no thread to follow. Just a number floating in a void. So your brain doesn't ignore the date because it doesn't care. It ignores the date because there's nothing to hold it. Nothing to anchor it to the web. But even that isn't the full story. Because this didn't start now. It started much earlier than you think. It's 2003. You're 10 years old. You're sitting at a birthday party, not yours. Someone else's. The cake comes out. Everyone sings. The room gets loud and bright and full. And you're watching. Not the number of candles. Not the date on the invitation. The face. The way your friend's eyes go slightly wide before they close to make a wish. The specific way they smile right after, half embarrassed, half delighted. That moment gets encoded. Deep. The date of that party. You couldn't tell me if your life depended on it. And this is where the psychology gets fascinating. Researchers studying what's called semantic memory versus episodic memory found that people process two fundamentally different types of information. Semantic memory is factual, dates, names, numbers, facts, the kind of thing you can write on a test. Episodic memory is experiential. What it felt like, what you saw, who was there, and how they looked at you. For most people, both systems work in rough balance. But for a significant portion of the population, particularly people with what psychologist Elaine Aron identified as a highly sensitive nervous system, the episodic system runs on overdrive. Meanings. You don't just remember experiences. You absorb them. Every detail of a conversation, every shift in tone, every unspoken thing. And because your brain is so busy processing the texture of life, the numbers just slide off. Not because they don't matter. Because something else matters more, and your brain made a trade. Think of it this way. Imagine two photographers. One shoots wide angle. Every frame captures the full landscape, date stamps, coordinates, metadata, everything labeled and cataloged. The other shoots close up. Every frame catches something you'd miss if you blinked. The exact expression, the light, the thing behind the eyes. Neither is taking a better photograph. They're just built to see differently. The wide-angle photographer never misses a birthday. But the close-up photographer is the one who remembers what you said under your breath at the party 3 years ago when you thought no one was listening. And here's what most people miss when they try to understand you. You're not absent. You're actually more present than most. The same sensitivity that makes dates vanish is the exact same wiring that makes you notice When someone's tone shifted halfway through a sentence. When a friend says they're fine, but something in their face says otherwise. When the energy in a room changes before anyone said a word. You're not tuned out. You're tuned into a different frequency, one that picks up everything, except the timestamp. So, what does all of this actually create in a person? Someone who forgets the when, but almost never forgets the what. Not the date you met, but the exact thing you said that made them feel seen for the first time. Not the anniversary number, but the specific way the light looked in that restaurant when they realized they were in love. And here's the contradiction at the center of all of it. The people in your life who feel most remembered by you aren't remembered by dates. They're remembered by detail. By the fact that you noticed. By the fact that you were paying attention in the way that actually counts. That's not a flaw dressed up as a strength. That's just what the strength actually looks like. So if you spent years apologizing for this, if you've carried the quiet guilt of someone who loves deeply, but can never quite remember when, maybe the reframe is this. You don't forget because you don't care. You forget because your brain is too busy remembering everything that matters about a person to have room left over for the number. And one day, hopefully soon, the people in your life will understand that being truly seen is rarer than being remembered on the right day. That moment at the party, the face, not the date, that's always been how you love. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's more of this kind of understanding here every week. If you've ever felt misunderstood like this, subscribe. This channel is where things finally start making sense.